Commit to Wealth Nation, welcome to the Commit to Wealth podcast. I am your host, Juan Vargas. Today on the show, we have Matt Theriault. Matt is a U.S. Marine Corps veteran, real estate entrepreneur, mentor, and fellow podcaster. His podcast is the popular Epic Real Estate Investing Show. Matt's focus is financial freedom, financial education, including teaching others how to create wealth via real estate investing. Matt, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Juan. Glad to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much for taking the time and making this happen. So I know that, you pretty much focus on a lot of different things, including education. I mean, you're active out there, in the field and, getting things done. Let's get this show started with, telling us a little bit about your background and how real estate even started, and took place.
Sure. Yeah. When I got out of the Marine Corps, I spent the next 15 years or so of my life in the music business and did pretty well for myself until, the world kind of changed on how they consumed music, and they stopped buying CDs and started downloading. And I just kind of turned that whole industry upside down. And I don't know if they've still ever fully recovered. So it's still kind of a mess in that industry. But, in six quick short months, I mean, that digital download put me out of business. I had filed bankruptcy. I got divorced, and I went from a 7-figure year to bagging groceries for $7 an hour. And, I sat around at the grocery store for a good 6 months, and I was 34 years old when this happened. So I didn't have a plan B. I didn't know what I was going to do. I got to that point of success in my life to where I didn't really have to make a plan. I didn't have to-do lists. I didn't have goals. I didn't need motivation. I just got up and did what I did, and I was fortunate enough to be paid for it. And so I wasn't prepared for what was next. I didn't know what that was going to be. I just knew I missed my money. I really missed the lifestyle that I had through music, and through a lot of searching and a little bit of a nudge from the most unlikely mentor, being the grocery store manager. He had said, long story short, Matt, real estate is the final frontier where the average person has a legitimate shot at creating real wealth. And I didn't know if that was true or not, but it sounded good to me. And so I went and embarked on a real estate career. And I thought the logical place to start would be getting a real estate license and being the agent. And after about 4 years, I realized, this is probably not the wealth he was talking about. And so I just realized that I was on the wrong side of the desk. So then I made a commitment to become a real estate investor and represent myself on all my own purchases and sales rather than representing other people. And around that time was when I found the book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and got this whole concept of escaping the rat race, right? So, what financial freedom is, it's something different to everybody, but really what that book did is it clarified that all I needed to do was to get my passive income to exceed my expenses. And if I did that, then I would essentially be free. Might not be the wealth that I had envisioned, but that would be a good first start. And after what I'd gone through in the music industry, I didn't want to fall down again. I didn't want to, take any chances. So that was a whole new pursuit, a whole new mindset. And I would say in 3.5 years, I got my passive income to exceed my monthly expenses. Like I said, I wasn't rich, not by any means, but I didn't have to go to work. And that was a much better feeling than having a ton of money in the bank, but still having to hustle because you had to pay the bills next month with it. I don't know, I guess just when people know you and they know what you've gone through, and you're bagging groceries one day and all of a sudden you're playing golf on a Tuesday, they're wondering, how did you do that?
Right.
So it just seemed like a natural progression to start teaching what I had done as well. So here we are with Epic Real Estate. That was 11 years ago now.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so we have a really viable real estate investing company. We got a fund that we operate, we transact all of our own investments under. And then we have an education company that shows people how to do the same.
Got it, man. I love your story because, a lot of times, you have to go through those downs to be able to, go through an up, right? And you were, pretty successful in your music, business. And from there, you're second groceries. I mean, that is pretty much, as I wouldn't say as bad as it can get, but that's, it's pretty low because
pretty low.
Where you were. Yeah. That's pretty low, especially at the age of 34, if you're, a teenager or your early 20s, I mean, hey, it's no big deal because you might be going to college, you might have other plans, but for you to go from where you were to doing that, that's pretty hard. And so, yeah, the most unusual person, your manager there at the store to tell to kind of pinpoint you in the right direction, and so yes, and also I had that, a little bit of that background as well with the real estate license. I went that route, and thinking that, it might help me. Right. And I quickly realized as well as like you did what that, doing that and having a license, it's totally different than being an investor because you're, representing somebody in a transaction, and you want to be on the good side of it, and collecting the, a big check. So, so that's why the investor side of it. So yeah, tell us, how you got, into your first property. I know he kind of set that mindset, and you read the Race That Poor Dad, by Robert Kiyosaki. Tell us, where you bought your first property and what that was.
Yeah, my first deal was, at this moment, I still didn't have a lot of financial resources to work with. Because of the bankruptcy that music threw me into, the credit score wasn't strong enough to get any sort of conventional financing. And I'd enrolled in a pretty expensive, at least it was very expensive for the time, in education company. And fortunately, I found a really good one right away. And it was the first one, and the information was really good. I just did what they told me to do, but I was really attracted to the creative acquisition strategies course. And I went out and just kind of did what they told me to do. And driving for dollars, very traditional, found a property that was dilapidated, and I was able to get that under contract. And once I had it under contract, they had showed me how to go out and find the money for that deal. And, very quickly I found the money for it, and we flipped it. And I think I made $26,000 on that first deal. And that was only 60 days after I got out of that educational program. And it just it showed me the difference between finding a deal and referring it to an investor, say as a bird dog, you get $500, maybe $1,000, or by getting control of it, putting under contract, and then being able to dictate how much you get paid. And it also showed me that you don't need to have the money up front before you find the deal. And it's actually much easier to find that money once you do have control of the deal. So those were all the big distinctions I got out of that first deal. But it probably took 8 months before I got my second deal. And somewhere in those 8 months is where I found that book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I was like, okay, I'm going about this wrong. The flip thing was cool. But after 8 months, that $26,000 was long gone. And so I just went out and, it went from there. And I started wholesaling before I even knew what wholesaling was. But I was able to negotiate with a lot of wholesalers and directly with the people that they had properties under contract, seller financing. That's how I started to build my portfolio at that point.
Got it. So you went from this property, and let's kind of fast forward to today. You got through a bunch of deals. Let's kind of take it to today's market. What kind of properties are you looking for today, and how has your business changed over the years?
Sure. Well, I'm a cash flowing investor. I'm not a speculator, so I'm not trying to buy super duper deep. I just care that it's going to pay me more than it costs me to hold it. I did get addicted to that cash flow, and I just want more and more and more of it. We do single families. That's where we're comfortable. We've had multifamily. Let's see, we're up to this maybe 2 years ago. I think we were up to maybe about 2.5 years ago now. We're up to about 350 units. And half was single family, half was multifamily. We turned out not to be too good at the multifamily. I think we just kind of bit off more than we could chew. We went too wide before just going deep with what we already knew.
Right.
And so we've done a lot of liquidation over the last couple of years. So we're sitting on about 50 properties and 50 notes.
Okay.
So that's where we are today. And so we're pretty comfortable with that. It pays for all the basic essentials of our family and everything. So now we're pretty selective of what we look at now, but still, single family is good. We just started investing in land. So buying land and selling it on a note, selling it on terms. So that seems to be working out pretty good as well. But that's where we are today.
Okay. And so I know the majority of what you have done in the past is single family. It's kind of geared towards single family. What about multifamily? Have you done any of that, or, what is your focus as far as that is concerned?
Yeah. So we did, like, half of our portfolio was multifamily. We had a 44 unit, a 50 unit, a 16, and a 12 unit property at one time. They were just all major projects that were pieces of crap essentially when we bought them, and it was big projects to bring them back to life. And like I said, we just didn't have the manpower or the resources in place to do that efficiently. So we dumped them. But what I really kind of found out was, inside of real estate, kind of like what we were talking about earlier, like we thought to be successful in real estate, the first thing was to go get a real estate license.
Right.
And you realize, oops, this wasn't the right move. I actually want to be a real estate investor. And you think there's a lot of overlap there, right? You think there's a lot of overlap and like they could be very closely related. They're actually there's not a whole lot of relationships there at all other than the word real estate in the title.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that I kind of figured that out with going from single family to multifamily. It seems like, hey, family is still there in the word. Real estate is still real estate. How difficult could it be? I could take this expertise I have in single family. It's going to translate beautifully over to multifamily. Let's do it. It's just a bunch of houses under one roof instead of a bunch of houses under independent roofs. That's what I was thinking. But it's a business within a business. There's a lot of little nuances that make a significant difference in how that's run and operated. I forget what the question you asked me was, but
why didn't you why didn't you continue on your multifamily path?
Got it.
Since you had already like dabbled into it, why didn't you see it as a successful business model?
Right. I see ourselves going back there in the future because I'm much wiser and smarter about it. I was like a little kid in a candy shop with big eyes with these deals that we had. But they were major rehab projects. So to go and rehab a 44 unit building when you've never done more than a single family residence, that was something that I should have sought out a mentor or additional advice on getting that done. That was just more than I could chew. And I don't know, we're still licking wounds from that,
Right.
So I think we'll be ready to regroup and pull that trigger again soon, but I'm not against it. Same principles apply. I just want a cash flow. Right. But we're comfortable with the single family. It's worked really well for us. And so that's where we are right now.
Yeah. And I would, pretty much echo what you said. In single family, you have built your systems. You've built a model that works, is proven. And so you can pretty much, do it with your eyes closed, basically, right? As far as the numbers are concerned. And multifamily it's has some of the same principles, but it is a different model. And so you have to pretty much know, and you can't, sometimes they're a little bit over your head, if you don't know exactly what you're getting yourself into. So let's talk about how are you finding these deals? I mean, are you still like aggressively looking, these days, or what is the plan of action there?
Yeah. So we do a lot of, we do direct mail in a couple markets. We're big online with Facebook and pay-per-click. But we're really just looking for the best deals that we keep for ourselves. We have a turnkey operation. So if it's not just the ideal thing for our portfolio, because we've done a lot of trimming and slimming down our portfolio to the best performing assets. So we kind of know what works for us. And so we turn everything else into a turnkey. We go out and find the property. We coordinate the property management. We put a tenant in there. We make sure it's cash flowing, and then we sell it as a cash flowing asset. And so that's been working really well. As far as, and everything else comes to us through relationships. I think you can go fast by building a marketing machine to find your deals, or you can go far by building those relationships. It's a much slower, but it's a much better way to do business. So I think almost every deal we find now is just through someone that we know.
Yeah. And that's the power of, like you said, the relationships, but, it takes time to be able to get to that point, right? So you have been at this, for quite a few years now, and it just takes time to build those solid relationships where, you don't necessarily have to spend so much on marketing. A lot of times, they come to you and, they're pretty solid deals at that, So what markets are you looking at right now? I mean, I know that you said that you're cranking up, or you're doing a little bit of marketing and, relationship, building, they're bringing your deals. What markets are you finding your deals in?
Yeah, we're in 10 different markets right now. I think we're seriously active in 6-ish. So all in the Midwest, all in the South. We're actually based in Los Angeles. And if you're a cash flowing investor, good luck here trying to do that. So we go out into the Midwest and the South. We've got our teams put there. We've got our really good property management now pretty much in all of our markets. And so that's where we're focused.
Yeah. And I would say like in the Midwest, you can get more, you're not going to get as much appreciation, because these are markets where it's a little bit more flat. They don't have a lot of dip, but they don't have a lot of bump either. So right. They're a little bit more flat, but these are compared to California. Really there's a lot of markets are better than California as far as cash flow is concerned. So that's your main concern,
Yeah, I think what a lot of people, they kind of miss out, because I hear that a lot. Well, you're not going to get the appreciation there. And I was like, yeah, but you're cash flowing really healthily. So you get the cash flow. the cash flow that you get, it pays down the house. So now you're getting a huge benefit from amortization, and you get all the same tax benefits by owning that house. So yeah, what you sacrifice a little bit on the appreciation, you really make up significantly in those other profit centers that, you know, might be difficult for you to do in other markets that have it, that experience big appreciation. So I think that there's a lot that happens underneath when you're creating wealth through real estate that most people don't see and most people don't calculate. When people are looking at a deal, they'll say, okay, how much money am I going to make when I flip it? Or it's how much do I anticipate this market to grow and appreciate? Or it's how much money do I think the property is going to cash flow? Where the real wealth creation comes from the amortization and the depreciation, right? The cash flow will support your day-to-day livelihood, but the wealth being created underneath through the amortization and depreciation is, you know, most people don't consider that even when they're buying a property. They'll look at the cash flow or the appreciation and make their decision solely on one or both of those. But yeah, you know, we were just talking earlier before we started recording, you know, I don't really love real estate. I just love the money and the wealth that real estate creates. And if I find a vehicle that does it better and with less risk, then I will go check that out. But until that happens, this is where I'm at.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yep.
I would, you know, like I said, I would echo, you know, pretty much what you said. You know, we use real estate as a way to, you know, live a better life and, you know, get us to our goals. Right. So yeah, let's kind of talk about, you know, your best deal. You know, what has been your best deal that you've ever done, and what did you learn from that?
Oh, good question. What's my best deal? This is going to sound funny. I guess my best deal, two of my best deals happened last year. I mean, they're all the same. I'm a very boring investor. I buy for cash flow and they cash flow, right? So there's nothing too exciting about that. But my best deal and what I learned about it was the two houses I had in Memphis last year that burned down.
Oh, wow.
And what I learned from that was, thank God I insured both properties for replacement value. And the replacement value was far more than what the market value was. So I got a big profit from both of those properties just because I had the right insurance. So I think when you go put insurance on your properties, you know, look at market value or look at replacement value and insure it for whichever one is greater. The cost that you pay per month is insignificant, but if something should happen to your asset, the upside is significant.
Got it. I mean, that's a great tip right there for most of us, because we don't necessarily think about that. You know, we think that, you know, the property is going to be there. Nothing's going to happen. You know, insurance is something that you really have to look into. And you know, do like you said, you know. So on the flip side of that, what has been your worst deal, and what did you learn from that?
Oh God, I had a couple of those. Probably the multifamily experience has been the worst deal for me. You know, I pulled some. I used other people's money for that. I pulled some people I had personal relationships with into that, and I got screwed by contractors. I was doing this from afar, and the one contractor just took actually the first contractor was killed. And
Oh, wow.
That's what put me in a weird position, because I had a good history with this contractor, felt confident moving forward. And then when he was no longer here, now I had to scramble and try and find somebody new. And the next guy I hired turned out to be a crook. And then the next guy I hired turned out to be incompetent. And after throwing a bunch of money at that, you know, it's all my fault. I wasn't responsible. I had to choose the people that I worked with, but it put me in a difficult situation. And like I said a little bit earlier, still licking my wounds from that one. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel. I feel good about moving forward. But the biggest thing there, the biggest lesson I got from that was be careful not to abdicate. It's good to delegate, right? Because you're not going to grow and scale without implementing the expertise and leveraging the knowledge and the effort of other people. But stay in control, stay in charge. You know, scaling doesn't mean uninvolved, right?
Yeah.
So I think that would be it. And do as much due diligence on your team members as you do on the properties themselves.
Great tip. Yes, I love that. So, man, I think it's time for our nuggets of wealth. And, you know, these are questions that I ask every guest every week, and hopefully they are able to help our listeners.
Sure.
What key tip or advice would you give to other investors that are looking to take their business to the next level?
What tip to take to the next level? I guess be really clear on at what level you're on and what does that next level look like. And then identify what are the big roadblocks that are preventing you from getting there. And then once you're clear on what's stopping you, whether it's knowledge, whether it's time, whether it's money, whether it's credit, whether it's an unsupportive spouse, whether it's a bad network of people. I mean, once you identify the obstacle between you and where you want to go, I think it's really clear on getting to the next level isn't so much a cliche, right? You can like, okay, so time is my issue. How do I get more time? Let's focus on the time thing. And that's going to get people to the next level. And everyone has a different challenge. Everyone has a different problem that's preventing them or getting in the way from them getting there. So I think just be clear on what's stopping you and not be so ambiguous and general about what it takes to get there. Because there's a very clear and easy plan to get to the next level for every person listening.
Love that. Love that. Thank you for sharing that.
Mm-hmm.
What is a good tool, source, or platform that you use frequently that can also help others?
Yeah, I use the Voxer app on my phone. And that's really expedited and created massive efficiencies in communication with my team. So it's just a free app on your phone called Voxer, Voxer. Works like a walkie-talkie. And, my email inbox is so full. It fills up every single day. It's hard to get for me to find anything that I want to read in there. Even text messaging is, there's a little bit too much friction even with that now. And you can't drive and text. So, you got to wait till you pull over and you forget, blah, blah, blah. But with Voxer, you just pick it up, you talk in the little recorder. It sends it sends a recording to whoever you need to talk to. And it's just really quick and efficient.
Sweet. Yeah. That's a great tool that we should all implement really these days, because, like you said, a lot of the times you're driving, you're checking out a property, you're doing this, you're doing that. That's a neat tool. What was the best business advice you ever received?
Best business advice. I've invested a lot in mentors and coaches and mastermind groups, and I've gotten a lot of advice, but I think, what's the best? I don't know if this is the best, but this is really good advice. Just travel as far as you can see. And when you get there, you'll see further, right? You don't need to see the whole staircase to take the first step. Another way of saying it is you can't steer a parked car. And so many people are just paralyzed because they don't know the answer to step 10, so they never take step 1.
Yes.
And I think if you just take step 1, step 2 is going to be that much clearer, even if it's a total mystery to you right now before you took step 1. So travel as far as you can see. When you get there, you'll see further. Have faith in that and you'll be just fine.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yes, I love that. And I think, to add to what you just said, a lot of people, they want to know the how, right? So I guess that's another way of saying it. They want to know the how. So once this happens, how am I going to do the next step, and how am I going to do it? And so they just keep focusing on the how. You got to really focus on taking action. Step 1, like you said, everything else will come in its place and you'll figure it out. You can always figure out things, right? So
today's world, you got Google, right? You got Google. So you get stuck, start Googling.
Yeah.
It's not so much your resources, it's your resourcefulness, right?
Got it. Yeah. When I grew up, I wish I would have had Google, really, growing up as a teenager. That just goes to show my age, but Google wasn't around, man. Like, nowadays, you could Google everything and it's right there, in your fingertips, so really there's no excuse for that. So what book are you currently reading?
What book am I currently reading? I'm reading Colby Kay's book. You Should See the Other Guy. So he was actually just a guest on my podcast, and I'm in the middle of his book right now. Just how to win when you feel like the underdog, so to speak. And he's got some great lessons and a great network from bikers to Navy SEALs to his own experiences. It's a really good book.
So what is it called? You Should See the Other Guy?
You Should See the Other Guy.
Okay.
When you get in a fight and you're all beat up.
Yeah.
Oh, guy, you got in a fight and you got a big black guy. Well, you should see the other guy because he looks worth it.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
Okay. What do you see your business here in the next 5 years?
Next 5 years, I see it very much like it is right now, but without my involvement.
So you're going to hire somebody to take over operations and.
Yeah, I'm going right now. Like, one of the things you can do for your business, and you should probably ask yourself this about your business several times, maybe 2 or 3 times a year. Like if I were my competition, how would I put myself out of business? Right. And when you ask yourself that question and you think about it, you start identifying single points of failure in your business. And, if this employee passes away or quits, you're going to be screwed. And if that's the case, that's not a good place to be as an operator. Or if this marketing channel, if that stopped working, then all of my leads are going to dry up. That's not good either, right? So you want to identify all those single points of failure. And that's what we're doing right now. We're creating overlap and redundancy in every vital area of our business. So I could see, I don't know, maybe even as soon as 2 or 3 years, my whole business running with or without me. So that's how I see it.
And really, that's every entrepreneur's dream, right? To be able to, have the luxury of stepping out and, the business still running, without a fail or without any kind of a slowdown. So that really, you're putting yourself in a position where you'll be even more successful, really. So yeah, at the end of your life, how do you want to be remembered?
Ooh, how do I want to be remembered? That's a good question. Never been asked that. Never thought about it. I could imagine that I would want to be remembered as a guy that gave unselfishly and a guy that brought value to other people's lives, particularly a man that raised an amazing son in a world where that, I guess, a sense of responsibility isn't like a priority. A sense of contribution isn't such a priority, doesn't seem like. That's my take on it. So yeah, I want to be, so I'm kind of just thinking out loud with you right now, but I want to be remembered through the great accomplishments of my son.
Nice. Yes. I mean, at the end of the light, at the end of it, it's about your loved ones, right? What you can provide, for them and the time that you spend with them. And, you just mentioned your son, it really is what it's about. All this can be gone in, one day, and really, who's going to be here, with you is going to be your family. Right. So that's really what matters. And that's really what should matter. And giving back, like you said, that's a great answer as well. So thank you so much for that. Where can Commit to Wealth Nation go to contact you and find out more about your business?
Sure. Well, we've got a show, the Epic Real Estate Investing Show. It's a podcast. And so if you're listening to this one, you probably figure out how to find that, Epic Real Estate Investing. And then I just launched a pilot program, Juan, on how to get started in this business with little to no money. I went back and kind of put myself back in my shoes when I very first got started, and all the different ways that I was able to generate leads and get those leads and convert those into contracts and exit those contracts using very little to any of my own money, doing that and making a good business for myself. So I put that program together. It's totally free. If any of your listeners want to check that out, you're more than welcome to come in and check it out. It's at freerealestateinvestingcourse.com. freerealestateinvestingcourse.com.
Got it. Yeah, I want to make sure to put that in the show notes, freerealestateinvestingcourse.com. So guys, if you're listening, check it out. If you want to, most of my audience, they're in multifamily, but, I do have some that also dabble into, single family to, mainly to be able to generate some more, cash and to basically dump it in more into multifamily. So, this could be a great course for you guys to check out. So once again, Matt, thank you so much for taking the time and being on the show. And thank you so much for the value that you have provided here. And, wish you continued success.
Awesome. Thanks, Juan. Good luck to you too.
Thank you.